Number
Hello, everybody, and
89.
welcome to this week's episode of Watch Before You Die podcast, where we discuss the boundaries of cinema. This week, our movie was Last Chance for a Slow Dance. I got the T in there.
Yeah, you did a great job. Nice job.
Yeah. How'd everybody feel about this one?
Let's get some ratings out there. I think we start with the man who couldn't decide what his rating was in Brian.
I think I'm gonna give this one.
You've had like a week to think about it, right? You watched the movie like a week ago?
To think about it. I've waffled between its good and bad qualities. I'm gonna land on a 3.
Wow. Okay. Justin, what do you got it at? Talk to me about it. Give me a number.
The fat goose egg. Actually, I don't think I can rate this movie the same as I rate that one movie.
El Topo. You can't do this.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with a 0.1.
Okay. Well,
that's where we're at.
Brian, is this for the first time ever has the highest score? I've got it at a 1.2, and I had to do very specific research to come out with that number, which meant going back and actually looking at what we rated Tres Fatali or whatever it was, even though I never finished that movie, and I needed it to be lower than that movie that I didn't finish. So,
wait, you did research. What do you know where I ended up on the Three Brothers?
Yes, you were at a 0.5.
Yeah, 0.5
for the
Three
okay.
Brothers. So we're good. We're good. Mine was still lower because I do agree with that mentality.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we jump into spoilers right now because
with a 3 from me,
okay,
a 1.2 from Ben, and a 0.1 from Justin. Overall, we have a 1.4 movie.
1.4 movie. And in comparison, just before we get into spoilers, what did Tres Fatali or Three Brothers land at?
1.2.
0.2.
So my rating pulled it a little higher than.
I'd like to change my number. I'd like to change my number. Just kidding.
Yeah, down to a 0.1.
It's not how it works, but okay. Well, I think we jump into spoilers. I think we start with Brian. I want to hear why your rating is what it is. I'm a bit surprised, to be honest with you. I thought you'd have this like really, really low. So
So a couple of the pros that are going to go for it in favor of it. It reminded me of a movie that I would try to make with my friends like back in high school.
Okay.
It reminded me of like a homebrew, just I have a video camera and I wanted to make this kind of movie. And for that reason, and the fact that literally at the end of the movie, they flash in the credits, this whole movie was made for $2,000. There's a little bit of a curve I'm allowing it. That said, there are so many cons to this movie that you can't even get me started on them. There were 4 full songs in this movie where you're not looking at anything, you're just listening to music. The audio in the movie was so badly balanced. They didn't use a single lav mic or anything to get the correct sound to the top. The whole bar scene, I have no idea why that was left in the movie. I mean, there were so many negatives about the movie. The only thing is, I would rather watch this movie than our previous movie, The Tree of Life. I'd rather watch this movie again than watch The Tree of Life again.
I 100% disagree with that sentiment. Obviously, because of my score.
2.5 hours. This one was an hour 30.
I will give
watch
you
it on double speed.
But at least the B-roll, you could tell what you were looking at, which is to say it was galaxies and dinosaurs. The B-roll on this movie was literally a horizon with lights from a town and faraway headlights and stuff in the middle of the dark, and you can only see little beads of light.
Yeah,
that was a whole shot that they put in this movie.
Just watching the road go by. For like 3 minutes.
20 minutes.
The first 3 minutes of the movie. I will say what I want to say is, if the movie had continued in the same vein as it started, not cinematography wise, because the beginning scene is horrendous, but I liked the way that you don't know who's talking at first. You're just hearing dialogue and you're hearing a back and forth. If they had continued in that theme and built upon it, I think it could have been good, but it just got worse. Like, it started somewhat okay, and then it like got worse, and then it got really worse, and then like what's happening, and then a twist ending, surprise. And then what really threw me off was, so again, we're in the spoiler zone, right? My man's at the very end of the movie, he decides he's gonna just shoot a guy and and not steal like $5 or something. But what really threw me off for the whole movie was the camera shot at the end of the movie where the cameraman has positioned himself on the highway and zoomed in as the main character kills this random dude, and then zooms out and you can hear the camera shaking. It's like now again, $2,000, I'll give it to him, but the reality is I truly believe
get hold of.
I could have made a better film than this. I really believe that
you could.
I was in a film when
that was better than this.
8 years old, and it was better than this.
Yeah,
you do got to think the year 1977.
No,
I hated that in multiple scenes you could hear the internal clicks and aperture of the camera. That wasn't just the last scene. And I also hated, like, there were so many shots that I was like, tripod guys, please tripod. Like, you do not got to handy cam this one. Because, like, even the shot where it's in that lady's apartment, like, even that one was not, like, they used a tripod for part of it, but part of it was not. And I was like, guys, it's so bad when it's moving.
It was horrendous. This film was horrendous.
I don't think there were any redeeming qualities. In my opinion, there were zero redeeming qualities for this movie. And I would think, and I actually, going into it, thought, well, certainly I have to give it some credit. Very low budget movie,
No.
But the thing about that is, for it to be on a list like this, where it's like movies that you need to watch before you die. These are important movies that matter.
I don't think they are.
You don't think what is?
I'm beginning to believe these movies are not important at all.
People want. I get you.
I'll give you my theory in a second on what this list actually is, unrelated to the movie. We'll get to that.
So on that point, the movie has to be, if you're going to have that kind of low budget and it's going to be on this list, it has to be at least charming. I wasn't charmed at all with this movie. And I get that I feel like I understand what they were trying to do, which was to bring sort of that cowboy drugstore cowboy kind of sort of vibe to it, where it was like, this guy is misanthropy. The character has misanthropy or whatever, he doesn't care about any other people and blah, 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 blah. That part came through clear, but I don't think that, I think that was holding it back. I think they were trying to make a movie about a thing that they maybe thought people would be interested in,
or could relate.
But I could name 1,000 movies that did it better than this.
Sure.
And
the things I liked about it, the low budget, I give it a little bit of a curve because of that. I also think they took a swing in that. I don't think you're meant to like Tom from the get-go. I think
no, I don't think you are.
It opens on Tom, and he's talking, and the whole time during the opening sequence, when it's just one dude talking, in my head I thought to myself, it'd be hilarious if there was somebody else in this car, or that he was talking to somebody and they just aren't talking. And then that's exactly what's happening, is he's dialoguing, and like his obnoxious laugh, and he kicks it, like
he berates the guy because he thinks he's a certain way or whatever,
and I forget what he calls him, fancy or
funny is what he calls him, but
funny.
But to me, the thing about that is, like, there still has to be somebody that's charming in this movie in order for it to work. Or for having a character, you don't have to like the main character. You don't have to like. He doesn't have to be a protagonist. He can be an antagonist. But there was nobody else in this movie that was that got enough time for us to like them
to make good. I think you're rooting a little bit for him to either like figure out that the road life isn't for him, or maybe he should settle down and be a family man. Maybe he shouldn't, keep spending time out. But I don't know. The whole movie I spent actively hating that guy, and I'm remembering one scene right now that makes me want to change my ratings. The rabbit out of just nowhere. That scene.
What are we doing?
That could drop me a whole point, honestly, on the ratings. I don't want to mess with what we got going.
It's what it is.
That was pretty graphic. For those who haven't seen the movie and are squeamish, they show an entire rabbit beheading and footing.
Yep.
Just for no reason,
There's
near the end of the movie.
No purpose of it.
That was pretty rough. I'd forgotten about that.
The film really derails right at the end. as if it was
Just
on
go. It's like
some type
it's
of
like
rail.
he took a snort of cocaine when they were finishing the movie. It's like probably shot it in a day.
So here's the thing: I was watching that movie, and especially when you get to the dialogue of the main character and the guy in the diner, and the main character's reading the newspaper of kind of like a Dear Abby style thing, where people would send in letters, and he's the guy next to him's like, those letters are fake, and the some weirdo in the back room is making it all up. It's a fantasy thing, right? I was watching that scene, and I really began to realize, like, this might have been an actual home film. Not like not like in jest, not like a haha, like this might be a real actual home film that somebody just released, because like that dialogue, I'm like having, and this is, I'm not trying to slide anybody. Don't take this if you're easily offended, leave it there. I worked in a homeless shelter for years. I have heard dialogue like that between two people that was totally real. And I was like, this guy might actually, like, the main character might actually be off the rocker, and the dude in the diner doesn't know they're filming. This is just a real scene from local. Yeah, that's what it really began to feel like.
That might be good acting, like good acting in a bad movie. Like the dialogue was painful.
It was.
I'll also say, as somebody who I've tried to analyze and try to be like understand what's happening in a scene, there were many scenes that it felt like the director or the writer of the movie was like, we need to get from point A to point B, and I don't care if it takes 50 minutes for you to get there. And the dialogue just goes like around in the middle, and they've already stated the point. They've already gotten to B, but they just keep on like swimming in the space, and it's pretty painful sometimes.
It was very painful the whole time for the most part. So, unless you guys have anything else to say on Last Chance for a Slow Dance.
Also, if you're curious if watching the movie reveals why it's called that, it doesn't.
I was actually just thinking that before when I first logged on.
No one dances in the movie that I can remember. There's no last chance for anybody except for the poor man at the end of the film who gets robbed.
Yeah. There's no point to the title.
There's no point.
The producer of this movie was like, "This is an art piece."
That's exactly what he did. And I wanted
because they name the movie sort of like how Fall Out Boy names their songs,
right?
Which is to say that they don't make any sense.
Yeah, no.
It was like, hey, I know a play on words that I'd like to play around with, but not make any of the content about that.
Yeah. I do want to say before we roll for the next one that we are now 50% of the films we've watched are films that you should not watch. Like, you're wasting your time. We're now 50%.
Hey, we're doing the Lord's work out here.
Yeah, we're helping people out. Yeah, that's true.
Don't watch these movies.
And after Brian rolls, I want to give you my theory on this list, but I want to hear the next film before I give the theory. So,
all right,
go ahead, Brian.
We have completed.
God, please be something good.
8 films off this list, and as Ben said, 4 of them above 50%, 4 of them below.
Yep.
So we're hoping for a good one here. 1,238 remain. 408. We're going back in time for this one.
It's not good. It's not good. Maybe we ought to just cut off the first 500 of the list.
More like first 900 of the list.
Yeah.
Number 408 is a 1962 movie.
Okay.
Called The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance or Valance.
The Man Who Shot
heard
Liberty
of this movie before.
Valance. It is.
Is it a Western?
It is a Western drama starring John Wayne. We might actually have a decent one, maybe.
Hey, yo, I think my dad has seen this.
It seems that you can watch it on Amazon Prime if you have a subscription. That's the first. You can. I've clicked it. I've confirmed it. It's a 2-hour and 3-minute PG-13 movie, and it says a senator who rose to fame for killing a notorious outlaw returns for the funeral of his old friend and reveals the truth about his deed. This sounds decent. I'm gonna go on the record now and say this one might be good.
We're getting back over 500, boys.
Absolutely.
We hope so.
Meat's back on the menu.
But I do want to give my theory real quick on this list, okay? If you didn't know, this podcast idea was Brian's idea. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
And did say on day one, this might be for good or for bad.
Yeah, and Brian came up with the concept. He did the research to provide this list for us. He created the great chart and the rating system that we're using, and I am beginning to have a belief and a theory on this. I've never seen where this list was generated, and neither has Justin.
True.
And I'm believing that
these are Brian's favorite movies.
No, I'm believing that Brian has created this podcast as a social experiment. And he's not rolling numbers, he is handpicking films to see how far a person can go before their mental breaks on watching bad movies.
Because the list he's actually going from is the Die Before You Watch These Movies podcast. Yeah. That's the list that we're looking at.
You should die before you watch.
Yeah.
And I think that, and here's why I have this theory. We started very strongly with some very strong films right all in a row. Bang, bang, bang. And now it's started to fall off very quickly and in rapid succession. And I think Brian, I think the experiment started, and I think that Brian might have a second YouTube channel where all of the reaction content is going up, where he planned it out and is seeing where this goes. So keep an eye on us. There might be 2 of us next week. There might be none of us. We might actually die before we watch the films. So
make sure you subscribe to my second channel. Name incoming soon. I'll reveal it in the next.
No, that's just Die Before You Watch. I mean, that's
yeah,
pretty good.
So right there. That's my theory, because this list, there's just no way somebody handpicked these movies and went, these are the movies you should watch before you die.
And if they did, they need their head examined.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
My honest feelings about this list, because not to let you down, I'm not that creative. This is a real list that somebody else has made. But my thoughts about this list is, like I said, I think last episode or maybe the episode before, it's just really hard to put together a list of this many movies that somebody should watch. And I think there are going to be some clunkers in there.
Filler,
I think some of these movies made the list because they're important to cinema more than they're important to watch. Kind of like this last movie, if it had one redeeming quality, it's the fact that if you have a story to tell, you could tell it for $2,000. Now, I would recommend you'd spend a little bit more on the sound equipment.
I'd say save $2,000. You know what I mean?
Maybe tell a better story. But
tell a better story.
I think some of these movies made the list just because, like, I can't believe they made a movie this ambitious in this year, or I can't believe they made this movie for this low budget, or I can't believe they made this movie with this many incredible graphics like The Tree of Life or something like that. I think each movie maybe isn't a masterpiece, a 10 out of 10, watch it every week. I think it's more like this one is on the list because you have to see this before you die, because it's incredible that they were able to accomplish this. That's why I think some of these movies made it, and that's why I think this last clunker made it.
What year did this movie get made?
1977.
Isn't that weird though? Because of Star Wars, right? Like you have movies like production quality and things like that, and obviously there's a vast difference in production quality and things like that,
and budget.
But even like other movies that have been on this list from that era.
Yeah, see, I think that whole speech from Brian is what somebody would say if they wanted their 2 friends to continue on a journey into madness by watching bad movies.
I'm wearing a tinfoil hat next time.
Yeah, me too.
Watch.
So yeah, that
hit me up.
That's my theory. This has been the Watch Before You Die podcast, and we'll see you next week, hopefully with a great review of a nice John Wayne film. If not, this might be the last episode you ever see of this.
And I can wear my cowboy hat like I was going to try to for the other one. Oh, sorry.
I always have to find a way to cut this music out. We'll see you next time.